Sensitivity is a short, sharp pain that people experience when they have something hot or cold getting to the nerve of the tooth. Dentists recommend Sensodyne to their patients. It's able to get inside the tooth and calm the nerve of the tooth down. And the proof's in the results. It works.
Dad has not been feeling well for a long time. He has become so weak, we can't play together.
Why are you refusing to go to the hospital? I told you there is no way you'll know if it is TB or not if you do not go and get tested. If by any chance you find out that you have TB, you'll get the treatment for free from any hospital. All the tests are free. All the medications are free. Are you waiting to infect your family so that you can go to the hospital?
Don't wait till it's too late. TB is preventable, treatable and curable.
Enda kusheze hapo nje na nyasi.
Wacha nichukue kazini.
Haina tinga.
Hebu kama dadi kuna kitu ameficha. Nini hiyo? Mkate. Songea Neli hapo akae chini. Ni nini mtoto amefanya?
Hakuna.
Mkate inatokelezea tu kwa nyumba na mtoto anajua mahali iko. Unajua watu wengine wanaambia sasa nini? Ati mkate yote kubwa ni selector. Hapana. Selector ni selector.
Selector. The difference is in the taste.
Introducing Jomo Kenyatta International Airport's new parking payment options. Through the automated parking system, you can now pay for parking in 3 stress-free ways. Using M-Pesa through the USSD code *486*12#, or using cash at the CAPS payment points located in the parkings, or using your preloaded CAPS A card. No payment will be done at the exits. Experience stress-free parking with Kenya Airports Authority. Kenya Airports Authority, setting our sights high.
Rafiki yangu alinishow mattress imekunjwa ya Dr. Mattress. Sikuamini, nikaenda kujionea. Wakani-invite kutembelea factory yao nione hiyo technology. Wow! Inakompresiwa na 50 tons of force. Alafu ina roll pakiwa. Hii iliniashua itani last kuliko mattress zingine zote nimekuwa nikinunua. Nunua yako leo.
When you're facing stubborn stains, you're always in a fierce fight, especially when others are fleeing away. However, with Cleasoft, I can make it so easy.
Cleasoft iko na 3 times particle energy to particles to blue husaidia kutoa mastain ngumu na ina enzymes za kulinda nguo zako ndio ziachwe zikikaa fresh.
Cleasoft kicks out stains kimateki. Serious.
We encourage our students and counterparts from both tertiary and higher learning institutions to become advocates for coronavirus prevention and control at home and in their communities. We appeal to you to share and practice safe hygiene to curb the spread of the coronavirus. Remember to wash your hands, sanitize, and keep social distance as per government directives. This message was brought to you by the BOG Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology. Arvist, technology for industrialization.
This is NTV.
Tonight, 1,243,052 cases of the COVID-19 has been reported across the globe. 67,807 people have died so far, and more than 250,000 people have recovered. In the continent, South Sudan confirmed its first case of COVID-19, becoming the 51st of Africa's 54 countries to report an infection. We have all the updates for you, but first, our top stories.
Tonight, we have tested a total of 530 samples, out of which 16 people have tested positive. The total number of COVID-19 cases now rises to 142. Also tonight, some public transport vehicles are still not on board with new rules on social distancing.
Any matatu operator found not observing the said directives will have their SACCO licenses suspended.
Plus, despite the government saying we are at fault because of not following the social distancing, it's not really possible.
A sense of abandonment takes hold inside the mandatory quarantine camps. We take you inside one such facility.
It's never emptied.
Also tonight, Catholic faithfuls abandon centuries of tradition on a quiet Palm Sunday.
Hakuna kuosha wale 12 miguu kama vile tumekuwa tukizoea.
Pope Francis calls for courage in fight against pandemic.
This is Weekend Edition with Zainab Ismail.
Thank you for joining us. Our sign language interpreter this evening is David Agondoa. Now, the coronavirus pandemic has forced millions of us to isolate ourselves, sometimes even within the same house, from those we interact with every day, co-workers, friends, family, pets even. Combine that with crippling fears of an uncertain future. It is understandable that anxiety is high during this time. Tonight on our Ask the Experts platform, Dr. Frank Njenga, a mental health consultant, will be taking your questions on the impact of this pandemic on global health. So you want to stay tuned for that. But of course, we'll be beginning on our top story in just a moment. Remember, we'll be taking any questions even as they come in on our Twitter handle. Remember, the hashtag is hashtag Ask the Experts, hashtag NTV Weekend Edition at Zainab Ismail. Now tonight, the total number of confirmed cases of the coronavirus stands at 142 as 16 more people tested positive in the last 24 hours. Nairobi, Mombasa and Kilifi are among the 3 counties that have seen an uptick in the number of cases. NTV's Kennedy Mureithi has an update on the momentous battle against this disease that continues to ravage nations.
At the daily appraisal of the fight against the virus that has kept the world on its toes, the government painted a grim outlook of the state of the country's battle.
In the last 24 hours, we have tested a total of 530 samples, out of which 16 people have tested positive for coronavirus disease. Out of this number, 15 are Kenyans and 1 Nigerian national.
When the government called a press conference Saturday, the number of infections were only 4. Now, there was a bit of jubilation in those numbers, but just a day later, those numbers have gone up 4 times, bringing it to 16 and the total countrywide tally to 142.
Out of this number, 11 have got a history of travel, while 5 are locally transmitted.
Now, fears of local transmissions permeate like a virus as the infection spread into the counties.
The distribution of these new cases, according to their counties, is as follows. Nairobi, 12. Mombasa, 3. Kilifi, 1.
Out of the 16 new cases announced today, 9 confirmed cases were from quarantine centers, while 7 were from contact tracing. 3,836 people have been tested so far, while 1,384 have been discharged from quarantine centers, and 449 contacts are being traced. The government is also putting on notice private hospitals overcharging coronavirus patients.
We have reports of gloves and other PPE equipment that are costing about 8,000 Kenya shillings for Kenyans who are admitted in facilities. This is unacceptable and immoral, and the Medical Council has been directed to take up this issue.
Further, the bodies of patients who've succumbed to the virus will have to be buried within 24 hours. The government insists that people should wear masks whenever in public, as it plans to start mass distribution.
All persons visiting public places such as supermarkets, open-air markets, public transport should at all times wear a face mask to reduce the chances of transmission of this virus.
The government is still calling upon you to be more vigilant in your daily activities, as this disease is spreading at a very fast rate. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV at Afya House, Nairobi County.
Well, the government will, starting tomorrow, suspend licenses of public service vehicles and arrest and charge matatu and boda boda operators who failed to comply with the recently issued sanitary directives aimed at taming the spread of the coronavirus. Victor Kiprop reports on the government's efforts to prevent the spread of the deadly virus through the country's chaotic transport system. Take a look.
Garissa town, Saturday morning. Boda boda operators continue ferrying more than one passenger and wearing no mask, in total disregard of the government's directive to wear masks and limit the number of passengers to one per trip, in order to tame the spread of the deadly virus. Across the country, public service vehicles have partially complied with the requirement to limit the number of passengers, while other directives around provision of hand sanitizers, regular cleaning and sanitizing of vehicles, as well as limiting the use of cash in payments have been flouted, and now the government has moved to crack the whip.
6th April 2020, any matatu operator found not observing the said directives will have their SACCO licenses suspended and the vehicle bonded. This directive applies to all public transport vehicles. The offenders will also be charged in a court of law in line with the Public Health Act for deliberately spreading the virus.
A similar fate awaits boda boda riders found disregarding the directives, as the government explores even more drastic measures to tame the virus, which has spread to different parts of the country.
We know last time we made this announcement, and the same day you could see boda bodas carrying 3 people. This must be understood very clearly, that from tomorrow, whoever flouts these regulations will have themselves to blame.
Tutakula nini? Tutaishiaje? Kwa sababu kama mimi mapato yangu sina mali naweza chukua loan, sina mapato ile napata ya kawaida ile unaweza sema naandikiwa mwisho wa mwezi, ni hand to mouth. Ile napata kidogo ndio naweza tumia jioni. Nina familia, kuna watu wako na majamii, lakini mapata sasa wakizidi kukaba, waseme sasa tuzidi kukaa kwa nyumba, tutasurvive aje? Serikali pia angalie upande hiyo.
The government has also extended the suspension of international flights by 1 month, with exceptions to planes evacuating foreign nationals as well as cargo planes. Victor Kiprop, NTV.
Well, the government also insists it will not relent in its quest to keep all Kenyans safe from community infections, even if it means keeping those in quarantine for much longer after some failed to adhere to rules on social distancing. But those facing another fortnight in confinement have complained of deplorable conditions and mounting bills they are no longer able to pay. Leila Mohammed reports.
Persons in mandatory quarantine at the Kenya Medical Training College in Nairobi gather the grounds Sunday morning to get a clearer understanding of what the next 14 days portend for them. While they say they can achieve social distancing in certain spaces, it's much more difficult to enforce when they retreat indoors.
These are painful decisions. These are not decisions that we take upon lightly, and we do appreciate the anxiety it has caused.
It's like our mental health has not been taken into consideration at all.
However painful this decision is, we will not waver on the extent of protecting Kenyans just to please a few people who have failed to comply with very simple instructions.
For many of those herded into these facilities, the conditions are deplorable, and a sense of desperation and abandonment is taking hold in what they now consider to be a prison.
We surely expect that we would be much more safer in our own houses because we're not meeting so many people.
You have like MTC where you have 11 cases coming up. Then we have no choice but to extend that quarantine period so that we can protect the general population.
According to those affected, these safety guidelines may be difficult to keep to, seeing that they share facilities such as bathrooms, cutlery and eating areas. For those under quarantine and have tested negative for COVID-19, the 14-day extension by government is a nightmare according to them, as it will put a further dent in their pockets as the bills continue to rise.
The issue of the cost, I think we have addressed it in our meeting today. We'll see how we'll be able to address it.
In an open letter to the CS for Health, those in quarantine have raised concerns about lack of medical attention, even for those with special medical needs, such as expectant women. Some say that they are students studying abroad who came back home due to the pandemic but have failed to catch up with online classes as they don't have access to the necessary resources.
We want to appreciate, on the other hand, places like Trademark where we tested 144 and all of them tested negative.
Government has gazetted 81 centers where people of various nationalities are being hosted, including schools, universities, medical training institutions, technical training facilities and hotels. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
All right, thanks, Leila. Now, you see, for the last 10 days, all international arrivals into the country were forced into a 14-day quarantine. Now, the Ministry of Health says they will have to spend another 14 days as they have not been adhering to social distancing rules. Well, tonight, we hear from one such person in quarantine who lets us in on life in isolation.
I am recording this from Lenana School. As you all know, it's a quarantine center, and this is to give the story going on. Despite the government saying we are at fault because of not following the rules, not following the social distancing, it's not really possible. We are living in a dormitory. As you know, it's open space, there's no doors, there's no nothing. We even stay without water for days. This is the garbage. So in the morning we try to clean up and put them in the buckets, but we have monkeys and animals, so they will stay here for I don't know how long. And so this was where they were putting the food before, because they have to be far from us. And you can see the condition. These are cups. They've been here. Anything that comes in never gets washed. So this was lunch. It's open space, so monkeys are coming all over. This is supposed to be the soap. There's no soap here. As much as you're keeping your distance, this thing is very easy to contact. We serve food in the same place, so we touch the same serving spoons. So we use, sometimes this is a cushion used to wash. Piece of mattress, because we don't have a choice. These plates have been here since we came here. Everything that comes this side, they never go out. So as much as we want to be safe, we are not trying to leave the quarantine facility, but it's not our fault. We are doing everything we can. So this is people putting water to take a shower. This is the water we use for drinking, you can see. And so they brought these papers to put in the gloves and the masks, but it's never emptied, so it's still here for forever. So this is the bathrooms. This is where we take the showers. Clothes are here, students' clothes, of course. And we are trying to clean the place as much as we can. So these are the dormitories. You can see 2 people are sleeping here. And this is another room. So there's not much isolation you can do, because you're sharing almost everything, so the only thing you can do is keep a bit of distance, which is very hard. So this was actually someone who got sick. The bed has been like this the whole time. We came in on the 24th. We are 12 days down, and the infected people who got tested on Sunday and they told us the information on Thursday are still with us as we speak. The government is lying. They said they took the people to isolation. No, they are still here, and they're extending days to 14 more days, or whichever days this extending to. And what if someone else turns positive? We're not asking to go home without being tested. They test us. If you're positive, go to hospital. If you're negative, go home. If the tests are not working, then stop testing people. Because if you test negative, then I believe you should go home.
All right, well, we certainly hope that the government will be able to address some of those concerns raised there by some of those people who are in quarantine here in the country. While in just 7 days, the number of confirmed cases in Kenya has jumped by 100 as the country reported 16 new cases. Within the week, the country also reported 3 recoveries and 1 death. And as the numbers soar, the number of patients above 55 years of age also continues to rise, with about 20 under critical care owing to underlying health conditions. Eunice Omolo unpacks the numbers.
Going for about 150.
7 days ago, on the 29th of March, Kenya had recorded 42 cases. A week later, there has been 100 more cases, bringing the tally to 142. So far, the country has recorded 4 recoveries and 4 deaths from COVID-19. Of the cases, 81 were males and 61 females. 105 of the total cases are imported, while 37 of them account for community transmissions, meaning these patients did not have a travel history in the last 14 days. Out of the 2,050 people in quarantine, 60 have tested positive so far. Of the total cases reported under local transmission, about 1 out of 8 are children 18 years and below. The youngest being a 2-year-old baby, a 6-year-old, a 15-year-old, all of who have no travel history, and an 18-year-old with a travel history. More than 100 cases reported are spread out across 16 counties, as Nairobi, Kilifi and Mombasa account for the highest number of cases reported in Kenya. About 20 patients aged 55 and above are admitted in various facilities and are said to be under critical care owing to underlying chronic diseases such as diabetes and hypertension. Close to 10 people are admitted in ICU facilities in the country. The Ministry of Health had earlier warned of a possible increase in the number of cases in the country as it sets out to test people en masse. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
Well, the Catholic Church is now asking its faithful to strictly adhere to the guidelines laid out to stop the spread of COVID-19. The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops say the measures will be key in helping the country come out of this pandemic with as minimal harm as possible. They said this as they marked an unusual Palm Sunday that was devoid of congregants but was beamed live. NTV's Brenda Wanga reports.
On any other Palm Sunday, the Holy Family Basilica Church in the middle of the CBD Nairobi will easily be filled to the brim, bringing together close to 400 congregants, all coming together to mark one of the most important events in the Catholic Church's calendar. Today, only a handful of church leaders took to the altar to lead the hundreds now forced to watch the proceedings from the safety of their homes. There were limited palms to give to this limited number of people allowed into the church. The procession into the church, replicating the triumphant entry of Jesus into Jerusalem, was also scaled down considerably.
The Catholic Church wishes to join the government in appealing to all to obey and strictly adhere to the codes of social distancing, wearing face masks, and taking the sanitary measures very seriously as prescribed by our public health officials.
Around the country, the usual processes of mass had to be tweaked a little. There was no taking chances with the very disease that has brought normal service to a halt. Observance of hand washing before administering the sacrament was a must. The church here in Limuru leading by example in word and in deed.
Huu mwaka tutaelezewa vile maybe mapadri wachache tu ndio wanaweza kukusanyika pamoja na askofu waweze kusherehekea, alafu tufikiwe mpaka na mafuta yale huwa inabarikiwa ya kutumika kwa kanisa. Na jioni pia hakuna kuosha wale 12 miguu kama vile tumekuwa tukizoea, ile chakula cha mwisho cha Kristo, na hata Good Friday kutembea njia ya msalaba nje na nini, hiyo yote hakuna huu mwaka.
Mwaka huu nimejitayarisha kukaa kwa nyumba, at least I quarantine myself, hata kama mimi siko na ugonjwa nijiweke na niweke watu wangu.
Palm Sunday solemnly opens the Holy Week leading up to the Easter celebrations. The same precautions will be in play during Easter. But before that, the church will also be called to limit the number of people who will be allowed to attend the funeral and burial service of the late Archbishop Ndingi Bwana Nzeki.
Archbishop Ndingi will be given a befitting church send-off on Tuesday, the 7th April 2020, during a brief solemn funeral mass to be celebrated inside the Holy Family Basilica at 10, after which his remains will be laid to rest inside the same basilica same day.
In Rome, Pope Francis celebrated Palm Sunday Mass without the public since the traditional ceremony in St. Peter's Square was scrapped because of the coronavirus pandemic. Normally, tens of thousands of Romans, tourists and pilgrims clutching olive tree branches of palm fronds would have flocked to an outdoor mass led by the pontiff. Instead, the Pope was leading the ceremony inside St. Peter's Basilica, which seemed even more vast than usual because it was so empty. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Il Signore Dio mi...
Well, as concern over the spread of coronavirus grows, people around the world have had to change the way they do things. Religious groupings too have also had to change their rituals in an effort to contain the spread of the virus. So how easy is it to maintain the sense of spiritual connection when the way you worship has to change? Well, NTV's Bridget Singana has more on how the pandemic is testing the faithful.
At this mosque in Bondeni, Nakuru, the cleric calls the faithful to prayer. However, instead of rallying them to troop into the mosque for the 1 o'clock prayers, his is a reminder for them to still seek God in their homes. It's been a fortnight since the government directed that places of worship be shut down to curb the spread of the coronavirus.
Upande wetu sisi Waislamu tumeathirika kiasi kikubwa katika ibada zetu ambazo kwamba tunakusanyika kila siku. Hii sio kumaanisha eti ibada zimesimama, ibada zinaendelea. Lakini katika mwelekeo wa Uislamu ibada kama hizi zinafanywa kwa pamoja na imependekeza sana tufanye kwa pamoja.
For the first time in years, churches remained shut on Palm Sunday, a key moment in the Catholic Church's calendar and ahead of Easter celebration for Christians. For some church leaders, this virus has disrupted significant spiritual traditions that dictate the faith. The Catholic Bishop of Nakuru, Maurice Mohatia, in a message sent to the faithful, asks, and I quote, "When this crisis is over, what could we be left with? A church that believes less and less in the power of holy water, sacramentals, and therefore less devotional? A church that is impoverished in its reverence to the Blessed Sacrament, a community that will be less inclined to go for Mass?" End of quote.
Coronavirus has come at a time when people are now looking up to religion. But again, they will have to assess the religious practices. Whether at this moment religion will help them contain or overcome the situation much better, then they might embrace religion more. But if it does not, then they will embrace religious practices less.
To me, I believe the numbers of people who will be coming to the church will increase because people have seen the vanity of life. If you look like in Italy, people are throwing money in the streets and they are saying this money, this wealth could not help us. in our times of distress.
Kesho kutwa Mungu akitujalia Ramadhani tukianza, sio kumaanisha tu kwa vile kuna corona Waislamu hawatafunga ama Waislamu watapostpone Ramadhani. Tuseme Ramadhani ya mwaka huu tutafunga 2021 hapana.
Religious leaders regularly offer prayers and words of support to their communities. They have now doubled down on those messages to ease worries over the virus. The jury is still out on when the world will resume normalcy as we knew it. But for now, the faith is facing the ultimate test. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
Right, it is indeed the ultimate test for the faithful. We'll take a short breather right now, but coming up ahead. This community radio in Migori is a string that connects the people to God at a time of physical distancing. Stay with us for more details.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there.
Selena!
Is great seeing you getting so much value for your money?
Well, it's important to save as much as you can.
You save everywhere. Except for here. This is where you're throwing money down the drain.
How?
On these cleaning products.
Impossible!
Harpic 10X. While other cleaners flow away, Harpic 10X's viscous formula in only one round of application gives you sparkling, clean toilet. Harpic, 10 times better cleaning than other cleaning products.
And great savings too.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready, y'all. Get ready. Ready, set, jump to the rhythm as hard as you can go. Steady, to the letter right, turn it up. We giving the show.
Hey.
Hey.
What'd I miss?
Niaje wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
The global diaper brand Molfix is now in Kenya. Please welcome the Molfix Band.
Molfix, so absorbent. Playtime is much more fun than ever. Come on, it's time for playing. Molfix is comfy and we love it.
Molfix with its double absorbent system absorbs the liquid immediately and traps the liquid in. Also with its elastic side bands, Molfix offers freedom of movement. You should also try Molfix.
Dettol's main objective is to help children protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold?
No!
They are spread through germs on your hands. Your hands collect germs that causes diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands regularly with Dettol soap that gives the best germ protection ever against many illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
Kira! Kira? Where are you?
That's why you need the superior protection of Mortein 360-degree reach. Only this has 11 vents which enable it to reach the farthest corners. Mortein, total indoor protection.
Wacha nikuchanue juu ya spring mattress za Dr. Mattress. Kama chef, kazi yangu anasimama mchana yote. Kuchoka nayo. Hii mattress imetengenezwa na technology ya pocket springs. Ukilalia zina fit na mwili yako, kukupatia perfect support. Bei nayo ni affordable. Ai, nani? Ebu harakisha nunua yako.
Online with ease at Optiven. Affordable land at your fingertip. Optiven. Refer a friend and Optiven. Download now to me. Optiven.
Experience the convenience of owning your property at the comfort of your phone. Download My Optiven app on Google Play Store or App Store and start your investment journey. What's even better, you earn extra cash when you refer a friend to download My Optiven app. Call 0740 400 400. Optiven, the pace setters in real estate. Simple and convenient.
Hi, well, thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching NTV Weekend Edition. Now, as churches and places of worship worldwide adjust to the new reality of reduced physical contact, a community radio in Migori is now the only thread that connects God and the church to the people. NTV's Bernardo Juang tells us more.
At 7 o'clock, Bishop Abisai is already in church, getting ready for what has been a weekly routine here. On any Sunday, the Migori Maranatha Church will be filled with the worshippers, but today it's eerily empty. Because God near. To comply with the new social distancing measures, churches around the country have closed their doors to congregants.
It feels lonely. It feels lonely because you have no one to encourage you and say hallelujah and say amen. So you are only speaking to empty chairs which don't respond. So in one way, we are really experiencing a new thing, but it's not an easy experience.
Physical contact and gatherings are considered some of the foundations of spirituality, but faithfuls are now struggling to stay true to their traditions and serve those who depend on them without loving them to death.
Lakini ni mzuri pia kuzingatia amri za serikali, because tukiwa ndani ya nyumba, yes, tutaconsider hiyo, sisi ni familia, tutakaa pa karibu nini, lakini tunapoanza kuondoka lazima tuanze kujitrain.
The clergymen in Migori County have resorted to preaching the gospel through community radio stations as one of the ways of helping the government in the fight against the spread of COVID-19. And they believe that through this, it will help them reach a majority of their congregants.
We have laden all our Christians, and they are seated around their radios in their homes as families, ready to worship with us. Not just to listen, but to worship with us. So they will be singing literally and worshiping literally, and when we pray they will be praying.
Tuliwapasha habari kila wao mpaka sasa hivi wameketi kando ya redio ili waweze kusikiliza. Make tumeona kwamba tuwaweze kuwalisha neno ili tuwatoe ofu katika ile jinsi mambo yanavyoendelea ulimwenguni sasa hivi.
Na la Yesu na watu wa Mungu waseme amen.
Veronica prepared her family for Sunday service, but this time it will have to be a gathering outside their home. They huddled around a small radio to follow the day's sermon. Solomon Otieno's family too is converged inside their house for Sunday service. They too are following the sermon on radio.
Tumejiunga pamoja kuabudu. Tunaabudu kupitia kwa hiyo radio. Tumeungana na kanisa yetu ambayo wanaendelea na ibada kwenye radio.
Anapoimba pale, sifa sikiendelea, nasi tunaendelea pamoja nao kwa sifa. Anapoomba tunaomba pamoja.
Tunajitayarisha kawaida, tunajivaa kana kwamba tunaenda kanisa, Ndio ghafla unawaambia watoto hakuna kanisa, tutakaa, kwa sababu wengine hata hawaelewi ni kwa nini hawaendi Sunday school. Sasa itabidi uwaelezee na uwajulishe mpaka uwa convince ndio waseme basi wacha tukae ndani tuabudu pamoja.
Maisha magumu kwa sababu tulishazoea kwenda kanisani, kushiriki pamoja na washirika wote na watumishi wote wa Mungu. Na pale tunapokutana pale unapata tunapokea mambo tofauti tofauti, baraka tofauti tofauti, kuinuliwa kwa umbali.
Ugonjwa umekuja usio na tiba.
The message also tailored to the realities of the day as preachers emphasize on the need to observe hygiene and social distancing. On Nagi FM, the men of the cloth wait their turn to take over the airwaves and send this important message to their congregations. Bernardo Juang, NTV.
All right, well, as the coronavirus pandemic sweeps across the world, it is causing widespread concern, fear, and even stress, all of which are natural and normal reactions to the changing and uncertain situation that everyone finds themselves in. Well, tonight, Dr. Frank Njenga takes some of your questions on how to mind your mind during this particular time. So thank you so much, Dr. for joining us on NTV Weekend Edition. So Kenyans have definitely asked a number of questions, and we're going to sample some of them. Here is one of the questions from a Kenyan.
Hi, my name is Angel, and I have a question. I'm feeling a little bit anxious just staying in the house. Should I be concerned about my mental health?
I think the reality is that we are all living in very abnormal times. And if you are feeling anxious, Anvil, that tells me that you're a normal person. Any person who has no sense of anxiety or apprehension about the times we find ourselves in is the one who is abnormal. So, a little bit of apprehension and anxiety at this time is what we would expect of all normal people in these very abnormal times.
All right, Daktari, indeed, that's a very important, of course, aspect that you've brought up about. But also, let's listen in to the other Kenyan also who's asked a question.
Hi, my name is Fatma Sufi. As we all know, self-isolation is very difficult. So how can I manage my mental well-being? Thank you.
I will repeat what I have said. We are going through exceedingly difficult times. We are being asked, quite correctly in my view, to do some exceedingly abnormal things. We are being told don't shake hands. We are being told don't go to church. We are being told don't go to funerals. We are being told all the things that we mental health experts advocate as the right things to do to promote mental health are the very things that we are being told, do not do this, do not do that. Now, this whole question of isolation, again, is abnormal. Human beings are animals that like to congregate together. The success of the human species, actually, is because human beings have been able to congregate and work together. Bottom line, therefore, is that isolation is the abnormal case. Isolation is a correct thing which we must all do, and a measure of anxiety and apprehension is to be expected. Now, how does one deal with isolation? Everybody has a different way of dealing with this abnormal situation. We are all agreed that during this period of isolation, a daily routine of one form or another is important, but I think critically, and I repeat this, physical exercise associated with a regular regime is really what we are all looking for. But if you find it difficult, that is because being isolated is a very difficult thing for normal people.
Right, Daktari. So we're going to also take some of the questions that were posed on our social media platforms as well. So this is the first question. Any suggestions on how you can manage your mental health when you're a frontline health worker? Because you cannot escape the pandemic and you still have to deal with it every day head on.
Okay, I mean, there are a lot of studies all over the world that indicate that frontline workers and medical workers in this case are actually the true frontline workers, are exposed to higher levels of stress, depression, and anxiety than other people. China, in fact, was the first country to report this COVID-19 thing, and they have already carried out some studies among doctors and nurses, and already it's been established that doctors and nurses, and particularly nurses and female ones at that, have above average levels of anxiety and depression. Now, that is the reality as it is. That is part of the problem and challenge of being in the front line. But let me say this because, again, it's very important. Medical workers, and I don't say this because I'm one of them, are the most important resource in a pandemic of this nature. And it behoves, first of all, the medical workers themselves, and secondly, the government that they work for, to make sure that this very rare and extremely expensive resource is well catered for. And this is not limited to the protective equipment that that is mandatory. It also includes ensuring work on shifts that compromise their health. Therefore, whatever else governments do, whatever else we as a society do, we must ensure that the frontline medical workers are well catered for, are well remunerated, and most importantly, we make sure that their mental health is well and truly looked after.
Right. Yes, thank you, Dr. Also, another question here that we've been able to pick from Kenyans is, can exercise help me keep calm? Can exercise help me keep calm?
There are two answers to that. There is a long answer and there is a short one.
Right.
The short and perhaps more accurate answer is yes, 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 and yes again. I cannot overemphasize the critical role played by exercise at all times, and much more so during times when there is a lot of anxiety, such as this one. Therefore, exercise. That said, I don't really mean that we should all get up and run to gymnasium because after all, many of them are closed. I am talking about very simple and very practical exercise. And the simplest exercise that one can do is walk. And a brisk walk for 20 or 30 minutes every day is more than the exercise that one would require in any particular day. If you are able to do more exercise that strengthen your muscles, the upper muscles, the lower muscles, and other bits of exercise, that is an absolute incredibly good bonus. So I am not suggesting that everybody goes and lifts many kilos of weight. I am saying that sensible and practical physical exercise that can be done by most people on most days is really, really very helpful in terms of dealing with the stress and anxiety that we are all going through these very difficult times.
Right, Dr. So also very important question here that has a lot of interest, because regarding older people, and especially those with underlying health conditions, have been identified as most vulnerable to the COVID-19. And to be told that you're very vulnerable can be extremely frightening and can also be fear-inducing. So then how do we approach this when we talk about the elderly and those with the underlying conditions?
In the earlier stages of this COVID thing, the message was very clear and it was very loud that only the old and people with other diseases, diabetes and tuberculosis and AIDS and other conditions, were dying from this condition. I mean, I watched you just now and you're giving us the statistics and numbers. of people who are dying, even in, well, not so many, people who are being affected by this COVID-19 thing the world over, it includes young people. I would like to suggest this, that we have made a good story, we have made a good and perhaps accurate statement that the highest risks are among the older people, but I think we need to change that messaging a little bit and say that all human beings are at risk. I have seen a number of young men walk around open and bare-chested saying, "Sisi ni ndume, we are not going to be." Let me tell you, this COVID thing doesn't know ndume. It doesn't know vijana. It doesn't know young people. It just knows people. That said, I would like to inform people of my generation that this thing is also real, and really we must all take great and exceptional care to make sure that we minimize exposure to ourselves. But it's a myth to suggest that this thing is only coming to take away old people. It will take away young and old. More old than young, but all people are vulnerable.
All right, so it does not discriminate. And lastly, Dr. Njenga, how can I talk to my children about the crisis, and does it have an impact on their mental well-being?
Okay, two things. One, it really depends on the age of your children. Little children under the age of 3 or 4 will probably not be able to understand fully the message and messaging. But after the age of 5 or 6, children will actually understand it's flying around in the air. It's also going around on door handles. It's also going on dirty surfaces. And this thing called a virus is carrying a disease that makes you feel unwell. And it's a bit like how you feel unwell when you have a flu or a cold. You can't play with other children, you can't go to school. It's affecting children, it's affecting mummies, it's affecting daddies. What am I saying in a long sort of way? I am saying that messages and messages really have to be age appropriate and relevant. So depending on the age of your child, you must package the message in a manner and language that is appropriate to the age and language level of the child.
All right, thank you, Dr. Njenga. And in just 2 seconds, your advice to Kenyans at this particular point on how they can be able to protect their mental well-being, very quickly.
My message is extremely simple. Our government is doing an incredibly good job. I would suggest that if we don't do anything else as a people, let's just listen to our government. This time, my view, very humble view, is that the government has got it right. We must listen to all the messages and the messaging, and we will be safe. Keep safe, and good luck to all of us.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Frank Njenga. There, of course, a mental health consultant, and just giving us tips on how we can be able to move forward during this pandemic crisis. Well, we'll take another short break at this point, but coming up, the country's north is battling another plague. We take you to the front lines of this battle after this break.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready, y'all. Get ready. Ready, set, jump to the rhythm as hard as you can go. Keep it steady, to the letter right, turn it up. We giving the show.
Hey. Hey. What'd I miss?
Look how happy my baby is. I tried different brands, but now I've discovered the world-famous Molfix and saw the difference. Let's see how absorbent Molfix is. Molfix, thanks to its ultra-absorbent particles, can keep more liquid than the other diaper brand, so you can use it comfortably all day long. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. you should also try Molfix.
Sensitivity is a short, sharp pain that people experience when they have something hot or cold getting to the nerve of the tooth, causing that discomfort. If the sensitivity is left alone, it may get worse. Dentists recommend Sensodyne to their patients. It's able to get inside the tooth and calm the nerve of the tooth down, and the proof's in the results. It works.
Selena!
Toto, where's mommy?
Today's a toilet day.
What? Oh.
Selena!
Toilet day?
Tomorrow we're hosting a party and it's a matter of my reputation.
It's a toilet, not a white shirt. Even if you spend your entire day cleaning with bleach and detergent, it still won't be party ready.
Impossible.
Challenge. Harpic 10X. Even if you use bleach and detergent 10 times, they won't give you the same sparkling clean toilet that Harpic 10X will give you.
Wow!
Harpic 10X. Harpic, Kenya's #1 toilet cleaner.
Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Beat germs with Jik. Kills 99.9% of germs on your kitchen surfaces, sponges, chopping boards, sink and fridge, and your bathroom taps, shower head, basin and surfaces. Just Jik it. Look out for our new improved packaging in store. Just Jik it.
Sona moja imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli ili kupambana na maumivu kwa haraka. Sona moja ina aspirin kama kiungo. Sona moja, kitulizo kamili. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Niaje wa Kenya. Hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Thank you so much for staying with us. And as the country battles the coronavirus, another storm is brewing in the country's north. Another plague of locusts is spreading across the region, and Marsabit County is in the thick of things as its skies and lands are infested with a new homegrown swarm that threatens the country's food security. And to his Mamoguyo traversed the vast and remote sub-counties of Laisamis and North Hor, which are now the breeding grounds for the pests because of the hot and desert-like climate, and where millions of nymphs have hatched, and now reports that farmers there are bracing for the worst.
Marsabit County is now the new epicenter of the second wave of homegrown desert locusts that are threatening the country's food security. The vast and remote sub-counties of Laisamis and North Hor are now the breeding ground for the pest because the hot and desert-like environment in the area is conducive. As a result, millions of locust nymphs have hatched. The army of locusts that has now invaded half of Marsabit County is now sweeping the skies over Marsabit, casting a long shadow over grazing fields and farmlands. This swarm of pests has covered the field of crops, grazing fields, and everything in between, every tree, every blade of grass. According to the county government, at least 60,000 hectares of grazing fields and farmlands have been destroyed by the locust. At least 40,000 residents in both Laisamit and North Hor sub-counties are now staring starvation in the face. Isako Diba, a teacher and a resident of North Hor, says the desert locust invasion has brought fear among the pastoralist community in the area since the desert locust decimates everything it touches.
Nzige imetuadhiri zaidi kwa sababu wanamaliza nyasi, hakuna nyasi. Saa hii ni wakati wa mvua, lakini sisi kama jamii tumeadhirika sana, hakuna nyasi, tunapata kiangazi mapema. Kawaida wakati wa kiangazi mali inafuata mali kuna malisho. Wanaenda mbali nasi, basi inatutatiza, tunakosa maziwa, tunakosa nyama.
Pastoralists in this end of the county are worried lot as early drought is approaching. This despite heavy rainfall quench the earth following prolonged drought that was witnessed last year.
Hata hiyo mifugo sasa simeenda mbali sana kwa sababu hakuna nyasi wanapata huku karibu. Sasa watu wako na njaa kabisa, wanakaa vibaya sana. Watu wako na njaa sana. Haswa mpaka hata watu ya huko juu, watu ya reserve wameadhirika sana na njaa. Tena wakati bado tunafuatilia mambo za Locust, ndio hii tena mambo ya ugonjwa. Sasa kila pahali imefungwa. Hakuna kwenda kwa jirani ati unaomba nini? Unaomba chumvi, unaomba nini? Hakuna.
Marsabit County Director of Agriculture, Julius Gitu, paints a grim picture of what awaits the residents of the expansive county and for who pastoralism is an economic lifeblood.
Marsabit 80% depends on pastoralism and 16% depends on agropastoralism. If these two livelihoods are threatened, it means that for the next 6 months, the communities won't get sustenance for their families and also for the market vibrancy. The losses that are going to accrue by the end of the season, we estimate that we'll be losing around, if we don't control it now, in terms of crop production, we are looking at losses of up to 60%, because the locusts are still here with us. You have seen that they are in Govchoba. You have seen here the damage they have left, and they are only flying out of the scare. They are only shifting their point of attack. So they move from Dodogish, they go to another particular area. So the same damage is still within the county and is affecting both the pasture and the crop farms.
Both residents and stakeholders now fear the county could suffer severe food shortfalls as residents live through the two current nightmare of locust and COVID-19 pandemic.
And people in that region, about 20,000 families has been affected, and in Lysamis, a similar number has been affected. So basically, in total, we are talking about 40 to 56,000 people who have been affected by this crisis. But we, as people who are on the ground, people who are in touch with these communities on daily basis, we strongly feel that, looking at the damage, looking at the ravage, of pasture which has been caused by this invasion, this thing needs to be treated as a national disaster.
Tunaomba pia serikali watusaidie na chakula ya watu na pia hiyo mbuzi, kwa sababu kama ni ya watu peke yake mali itakufa. Tunataka both animals and people.
Janga tena ya corona imekasa zaidi watu. Hakuna mahali unaenda. Hiyo mifugo yako imeenda mbali. Kitambo uende pahali mifugo yuko, hata kukufa unakufa kwa njia, kwa sababu siko mbali kabisa.
The County Department of Agriculture says it is facing challenges in controlling the spread despite ground and aerial spraying that has been ongoing for weeks now. Among the challenges facing the county is lack of enough resources due to vastness and remoteness of the county. The National Government Ministry of Agriculture has so far spent at least 300 million shillings in locust control, even as they expect additional amount of 300 million more shillings from National Treasury, thus bringing the amount to be used to 600 million shillings.
Yeah, in terms of resource, in terms of logistics, it's quite an uphill task, and we would wish that the national government, through the Desert Locust Organization, can be able to support the county mitigate against this particular menace of desert locust.
Despite government intervention in distributing pesticides, planes, and national youth servicemen to the ground, the county is still struggling to save the remaining grazing fields. According to the residents, the county government is the weak link in the fight against the locust because of its failure to provide protective gear and to facilitate the ground team to enhance ground surveillance, fueling of vehicles, and accommodation of NY servicemen. NTV has learned that the deployed servicemen failed to spray the insects due to failure by the county to provide protective gears and basic needs like water, milk, and fuel. Thus the spread of the locust in North Horr and Laisamis.
Tukiwaona wanatatizika sana. Unaona mtu anashika dawa na mkono, hakuna overall, hakuna kinga nzuri. Mtu anahitaji maji, mtu anahitaji maziwa, hakuna chochote. Ingawa wanatusaidia ni minimal, kwa kiasi kidogo sana.
Not very easy for the government, because even getting this information is not very easy. Facilitation for the NYS recruits has also been a big challenge, but we've also been trying to support the county government so that it's able to deliver on this matter.
Na wajaribu wakituma staff wao, wakituma hizo machini zao, watumane hadi facilitation. Isiletwe tu kutuonyesha sisi wananchi wa Marsabit kuna picture. Inakaa kama picture kwa sababu hiyo ndege inakaa kwa uwanja ndege. Sisi tunaiona tukipita pale. National Youth Service wamekaa Laisamis, wengine nafikiri wako Notor, wako na bidhaa, lakini hakuna kazi wanafanya. Wakiongojea siji wanunuliwa chai na nani. Wanaongojea wananchi wanunuliwa chai au nani watanunuliwa chai. Kwa hivyo mimi ningeonelea kama wakiwa wameamua kweli kusaidia, wasaidie na wajaribu kumaliza nzige.
Yes. Tanta.
Cases of excess use of chemicals in Laisamis, and North Horr has seen death of birds that fed on spread locusts, despite warning from experts against the use of pesticides, thus raising concerns over the safety of pesticide used in the spraying and possible effects of the chemicals on the environment. In Laisamis, birds were seen struggling to fly after feeding on dead locust that was sprayed by National Youth Servicemen, perhaps raising the question whether the 600 NY servicemen were vigorously trained by Food and Agriculture Organization. The government has been mum on the components of chemical used amid worries about their effects since farms are also being sprayed. The COVID-19 pandemic has further slowed down the fight against the locust as resources are diverted to contain the spread of the disease. The Agriculture Ministry says it has been hit by a shortage of pesticides following the suspension of flights worldwide. It says it has become difficult to procure the right chemicals for the locust spraying, given that many countries have closed their borders in effort to control the spread of deadly COVID-19. Despite these setbacks, stakeholders, majorly and governments have come up with technological solution to the locust problem in the county. Led by Pastoral Community Initiative Development, an application called Open Kit Data has already been developed to send coordinates of the locust to a central server where a focal person from both county and national government can access and quickly mobilize ground or aerial spraying. To complement this, at least 70 scouts from within the county on voluntary basis help in ground surveillance by sending coordinates using the Open Kit Data application, which, according to the developer, does not need internet connection to upload the data to the server, owing to the fact that half of the county lacks 4G internet connectivity. For residents of a county that is at the front line in the battle against the invaders, theirs is to desperately wait for government intervention.
Na mvua amenyesha wiki moja iliyopita, na sahi hapo pale tunasimama na hakuna nyasi, imeenda na sige. Na hiyo sige ameadhiri sisi pamoja na mahali pia. Tunataka usaidizi mingi sana na NGO na serikali kuu pia.
Residents are now asking the government to look for permanent solution in order to avoid further outbreak.
Looking at how this invasion is really is spreading in this country, even the food basket areas of this region, Central Kenya, Rift Valley, Western and Nyanza have not been spared. All this region has been affected. So that means a lot of attention needs to be focused in this region. Also, how to really see that this thing can be controlled in order to control the spread of invasion of locust.
Mamo Ali, NTV, Marsabit.
All right, thank you so much, Mamo Ali, for that report. There, of course, another plague that is looming in the country's north. Of course, we should not be able to forget that even as we continue to fight the COVID-19 in the country and globally. Let's take another short break. We'll be back with more.
Melissa? Mom, it's Dad's birthday today. I'm giving him a party just like he gives me.
Nothing makes a mother more proud than seeing her child growing up. But I know that as she learns to care for others, she'll face even more germs and the risk of illnesses.
That's why you need strong Dettol protection. Just 1 cup of Dettol protects your home and family from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Growing up needs Dettol protection.
Niaje wa Kenya, hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Parenting is all about learning when to be tough and when to be gentle. Tough, gentle. But when it comes to fever, you need to be both. Panadol Baby and Infant starts to work on fever in 15 minutes and is gentle on the tummy. Tough call. Panadol Baby and Infant. Tough on fever, gentle on your child.
Wacha nikupigie, nataka kupata store bonus. Hello? Locust zimeenda? Na kuzeeka? Wacha. Na zinapikwaje? 200% store bonus. Locust zinakulwaje bila chumvi na kilo moja mnauzaje? Pokoteni hezi beba. Kwa hivyo nikuja napika plini. Ongea na mama yuko hapa.
Tumemaliza story. Shika storo kibao na 200% storo bonus. Piga simu zaidi, tuma SMS au nunua bundles ufikishe target yako leo. Isitoshe, pata 50% extra airtime unapo top up na kupiga *544*2* amount hash. Safaricom, for you.
Usingoje hadi dakika ya mwisho. Pimwa kwenye hospitali ya serikali. Matibabu inapatikana bila malipo. TB inakinga na tiba.
Introducing Jomo Kenyatta International Airport's new parking payment options. Through the automated parking system, you can now pay for parking in 3 stress-free ways. Using M-Pesa through the USSD code *486*12#, or using cash at the CAPS payment points located in the parkings, or using your preloaded CAPS A card. No payment will be done at the exits. Experience stress-free parking with Kenya Airports Authority. Kenya Airports Authority, setting our sights high.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Now, the county government of Uasin Gishu has banned private food distribution drives to guard against gathering people together in the name of food distribution. Well, County Commissioner Jaldesa Abdirizak's directive follows an incident that saw Keses Member of Parliament Swarup Mishra engage in a heated exchange with Keses Deputy OCPD, who had called him out for gathering members of the public in total disregard of their safety. Uasin Gishu County Commissioner Jaldesa Abdurisak has suspended private distribution of food and supplies on grounds that they may be aiding in the spread of the coronavirus. Anyone who wants to give must now liaise with the County Emergency Response Committee, which will ensure that such an exercise follows the laid down guidelines to protect Kenyans against the virus.
So I have suspended the exercise with immediate effect.
This directive seems to be targeting politicians who have been engaged in food distribution drives.
Taking time 3 hours, I'm sitting here.
Only yesterday, Kisses MP Dr. Swarup Mishra caused a stir when he engaged in a verbal exchange with Kisses Deputy OCPD Cecilia Kemboi. This is after she questioned the move to gather chiefs, sub-chiefs and community leaders in Kisses for the exercise. In this video, she is seen cautioning the MP to suspend the distribution and plan with the county to ensure safety. But the MP would have none of it.
That's very hectic to give this food to individuals, because once a pickup comes to a center, everybody is there. And we are going to endanger people as far as corona issue is concerned.
The MP has since apologized to Deputy OCPD Cecilia Kemboi and to other residents of Kisses constituency.
I personally, for that reason, very remorseful, apologetic and asking for forgiveness.
Lois Wangoi, NTV, in the county of Uasin Gishu. Right, let's take yet another break. When we come back, I'll be bringing you all the sporting action.
Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Online with ease at Optiven. Affordable land at your fingertip. Optiven. Refer a friend and Optiven. Download now to me. Optiven.
Experience the convenience of owning your property at the comfort of your phone. Download My Optiven app on Google Play Store or App Store and start your investment journey. What's even better, you earn extra cash when you refer a friend to download My Optiven app. Call 0740 400 400. Optiven, the pace setters in real estate. Simple and convenient.
Nyaja wa Kenya, hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly with a clean dry towel.
Furthermore, it is advisable to cover your mouth and nose adequately when sneezing or coughing and immediately dispose of the tissue in a dustbin. Please do not use handkerchiefs if you can avoid it. If disposable tissue is unavailable, cough into your elbow. Try and avoid close contact with anyone showing signs of respiratory illness, such as coughing or sneezing.
Before you share any coronavirus information on social media, please verify it with Ministry of Health to avoid panic and alarm among your fellow Kenyans.
Kama chef, kazi yangu anasimama mchana yote. Kuchoka nayo. Hii mattress imetengenezwa na technology ya pocket springs. Ukilalia zina fit na mwili yako, kukupatia perfect support. Ebu harakisha nunua yako.
Its breathable surface, developed with Airsoft technology, is very soft and provides the best Molfix skincare.
I've found the best diaper for my baby's sensitive skin.
All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
Through the automated parking system, you can now pay for parking in 3 stress-free ways. Using M-Pesa through the USSD code *486*12#, or using cash at the CAPS payment points located in the parkings, or using your preloaded CAPS A card. No payment will be done at the exits.
Send M-Pesa up to 1,000 Kenya shillings for free. Avoid contact with paper cash. Safaricom is for you.
Welcome to NTV Sport. Now, football coach Rajab Babu believes that Kenya has what it takes to produce football superstars. The Back to Basics Football Academy coach says during his visit to Brazil, he learned that investing in youth is the surest way to improving football. The academy has more than 80 young footballers and trains over the weekends at the Mombasa Sports Club, but due to the coronavirus pandemic, the camp is now suspended.
I learned a lot. Kule kuna mpira wapikwa huko, tusidanganyane. Kule mpira wapikwa. It's serious business. I've been in Europe, I've been in Asia, I've been in Africa, lakini mpira wapikwa Brazil. Nilipofika kule, Mungu alinijalia ngapata opportunity kama 3. 1, ile team unakuwa attached na team pre-season. Nilikuwa attached na Flamengo. Flamengo is the biggest club in Brazil. Iko na followers wengi. Coincident, Romario was playing for Flamengo. So my assignment katika class ilikuwa to study Romario. Asubuhi napelekwa, jioni napelekwa. Kwenda kumwangalia ameingia mazoezi saa ngapi, amekuja na nini, amefanya nini, warm up vipi, amefanya nini. That was my business. Na nina interpreter naenda naye every morning. Hiyo ndio kazi yangu. And I saw so many things and I learned so many things. The boy is a brilliant boy, was a brilliant guy, best scorer you can ever think of. But discipline yake ilikuwa kidogo iko chini kulingana na mimi mwenyewe. Na huyo kijana alikuwa anaweza kuja mazoezi na chopa. It's a big ground, si pali padogo, anakuja na chopa, ana warm up dakika 10, anarudi kwa chopa anaenda zake. If another player comes late, anakuwa fined. Romario anakuja late na hakuna mtu anazungumza.
And England manager Gareth Southgate has agreed to a 30% pay cut due to the coronavirus crisis. The cut will be to be confirmed next week by the Football Association. This comes after the Premier League announced that it would ask players to take a 30% pay cut in order to protect their jobs. Last month, Bournemouth manager Eddie Howe became the first Premier League coach to take a voluntary pay cut during the pandemic. And English Premier League leaders Liverpool is the latest club to send some non-playing staff on temporary leave. Staff affected will receive 80% of their salary through the government's job retention scheme. The decision has been criticised by former Liverpool players Jamie Carragher and Stan Collymore. Newcastle, Tottenham, Bournemouth and Norwich have already announced they would send some non-playing staff on leave as well.
To the other side, straight away.
All right, well, that definitely brings us to the end of our bulletin this hour. Many thanks for keeping us company. And of course, we will continue to bring you all the information and updates that you need to know on the spread of the COVID-19, not only in the country, not in the continent, but globally as well, looking at the numbers that have exponentially risen to this particular point. So thank you so much for your company, and from the entire team that made this possible, including Mike Wainaina, our director, and Sheila Sendeo, our producer this evening. This was NTV Weekend Edition. My name is Zainab Ismail. Our sign language interpreter this evening was David Agondoa. Do have yourself a lovely evening. Stay at home and stay safe, and continue to keep high levels of hygiene.
This is NTV.
I help women find independence by training them in fish farming. It's tough on my back, joints, and can cause headaches. Panadol Extra relieves multiple types of pain. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Nyaji wa Kenya, hii ni public service announcement kuhusu coronavirus.
The Ministry of Health advises all returnees from abroad to self-quarantine for at least 14 days, whether they feel well or unwell.
Wash your hands regularly following the 8 steps of hand washing. Wet hands with warm water. Apply a small amount of soap. Rub palms together. Rub fingers and thumbs and the bits in between. Rub nails on palms. Rub the back of each hand. Rinse with clean running water and dry thoroughly